I was just, leads were either walking my door or people referring me, but I wasn't getting anything organic. It was after I started, well, I guess there's a separate conversation maybe, but that lead search dashboard
Yep.
generation thing from PE. Then I was figuring out people were finding me via Google. I mean, every month I kind of look at the average of where people are finding me because we track all that. And more than about 35 to 40% of our leads come via Google search, pure Google search. So then I realized that, this Google thing works, and I know that I would like to put my, more sort of work into getting more leads via Google.
Well, hi everyone. It's Rick Isaac here, Senior Success Coach with NPE. And we know that building a business can be really tough. A fitness business isn't easy, and we believe that every studio and gym owner should have a game plan to succeed. I'm excited to introduce you today to Aly Khairuddin from Fitnut Loft in Singapore. And Aly's got an amazing story that we're going to talk about today. She's an absolute standout star client. She's in our MP Pro program now, although she didn't always start in that. And we're going to talk through that as well. But I'm absolutely thrilled to be interviewing you today, Aly, and sharing all of the challenges and successes and growth that you've had over the last few years.
Hi, Rick.
Good to have you here. So, how long have you been in the industry for, Aly?
Well, total, I've been in the industry for about 15 years, but I started Fitnut Loft in 2017. So that's just over 5 years now.
Gotcha. Okay, so 5 years in your own business there in Singapore. What type of clients do you work with right now? I know this has evolved and changed a bit over the years, but what's the sort of clients you work with at the moment, Aly?
So we work with women, mostly post 30. I'm really trying to get into the 40s and 50s, but we don't exclude those in the 30s and above. Although all my marketing messaging is for women in the 40s and 50s who really are not comfortable in a gym setting, or they don't know what to do and they want to get stronger, have more energy. It's all the normal stuff, and lose some weight. And Pilates is not known for weight loss. So by combining strength training, nutrition, and Pilates, I found that actually works. And yeah, mostly women, but we do have a few men as well.
Well, that's what's interesting. It's what's interesting about your model, isn't it? Because yes, you've come from that, really pure Pilates background, if you like, but then through your own experiences and education, you've also brought in that cardiovascular and the strength training critically, which is so important to your target market. So what sort of programs do you offer? Are they split out? Do you bring them all in together? What does that look like?
So we do have our pure Pilates, which is Reformer, because that everyone loves the stuff in Reformer. But in our Reformer classes as well, we also focus, say, Monday on shoulders, Tuesday on back, Wednesday chest, whatever. So even the women are saying, "Oh, I don't want to lift weights," and so they won't join our other stream of classes, which I call Strong and Lean. I'll talk about that later.
Right.
So in Reformer as well, like they'll just get some weights and they'll do some shoulder presses. So like it or not, they can't escape the weights, right? Like other Pilates studios will just do, say, pure Pilates and lift like 1 pound dumbbells or little balls. But the other stream that we do is we combine Pilates and strength training, and in a HIIT circuit fashion. So women get about 30 odd minutes of Pilates, and then they get about 15 minutes of strength training, and then about a little bit after that with some HIIT, and then breathing, relaxation, and that sort of thing. So that class is what I think works the best. But then obviously some women just can't handle it, or they don't want to be in that class. So we're listening to our clients, but at the same time, by adding the strength training, I'm kind of getting what we believe in that as well.
Well, and you're the expert, aren't you? They don't necessarily know what they need. I know there's a lot of fear around lifting heavy weights, especially for women, but you're already breaking through that, which is awesome. When you started with MPE, what goals were you looking to achieve with your business?
I wanted to just be profitable, really. Honestly, when I started, I was letting the clients lead the way. right? I was so desperate for a client. I'd let them do whatever they wanted. I was giving free trials. I was giving such cheap introductory rates, and then they weren't following through, or they'd stop after 5 cheap sessions. And I thought, this isn't working. And actually, I'd been I think what you call fast track client. I joined fast track, I think in 2015, but then I had breast cancer. So I kind of went, I can't deal with this right now, and pulled myself out. So I remembered NPE, and I thought, let's go back to these guys again. I mean, so let's see where we are right now. But so really, I just wanted someone to help. I was still skeptical in that first call. I was like, well, I don't think this is going to work. And I was like, I know they're really good at the sales, but they can't fool me. I'm not going to join or anything. And of course I did.
Oh, you mentioned obviously a few challenges there, both professionally and personally as well. When you first started with MPE in the fast track, when did you first hear about us, and what inspired you to join then?
Well, I've just been I just went through the precision nutrition coaching certified, and then of course then they have all their partners, and I heard about NPE via precision nutrition. And back then I had all these dreams. I was working with another Pilates studio, but I had these dreams of starting my own thing, including nutrition. And of course, when I approached the studio owner, they had no interest in that. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll start my own thing, whatever that thing was. And I still wasn't sure, because all I knew was the way I was currently working my Pilates studio. And even at Fast Track, I was hearing things that were sounding like, whoa, my God, what? You want us to do monthly subscriptions? I was like, you don't understand why, anything. And then the cancer thing happened. So then I stopped. But then I obviously came back because it was really like Luke Skywalker looking at for Obi-Wan Kenobi and going, help. I think these guys know what they're talking about.
Well, we're going to talk about that and your successes down the track here. Just sticking with where you were, post-cancer, you've recovered or in recovery. You're looking for a solution again. You're that Luke Skywalker looking for a coach and a mentor like Obi-Wan, like you said. What was your average monthly revenue when you started?
Man, I mean, looking back, those were days when I wasn't even sure I could pay my $2,000 rent. So I was putting money in. So really, it was definitely less than $5,000 a month. All I wanted really at that point was to cover my expenses, which was rent and some power, and to give myself a little bit of pocket money, which was $1,000. So I'm pretty sure I wasn't making that $3,000 that I had in my head back then.
Right. Okay, so that was back then. Let's just fast forward quickly to what has it grown to now? What's your monthly revenue now?
Well, my monthly revenue last month was, I think, I should know these numbers, but I do. But last month was $39,000.
Fantastic. I know you've had some bigger months as well over the last 6, but that average is great. So, I mean, it's obviously been a phenomenal growth, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, just some of the professional challenges and obstacles that you've had to overcome through that as well. What areas of your business did you need to work on the most to grow and break through and get to where you are now, Aly?
It was sales, because I hated the idea of sales. It was basically I needed to get prospects, to get leads, and I didn't even know what a prospect meant. I didn't know what a lead was. I needed people to come in my door and for me to be able to sell them a membership. So that was the biggest constraint upfront. I needed money.
Do you remember those initial sales consultations after? Is there one that sticks out for you where you just couldn't believe that they tossed over their credit card and gave you that sort of money? Was there a turning point for there? Because obviously sales, as you said, was not something you were comfortable with, is probably an easy way of saying it. Just wasn't something you liked doing. But you've had some big sales, big ticket items. Is there one of those that sticks out for you as a bit of a turning point?
Well, early on, when I had some clients and I told them I was transitioning to this monthly membership, and I said, and through NPE telling me, well, have this kind of like, not, I wouldn't say that founders campaign, but give them the chance to kind of like just pay everything at once. So that was fine. I got some money in my bank. But then as soon as that first person signed up for that 3-month membership and they didn't raise any eyebrows, I thought, oh, it kind of works. But since then, we've had people sign for, 18 months is our longest membership. And we've had a lot of people convert to 18 months after, within the first month saying, I love this, I'm going to convert. Or once they've renewed, they've converted to 18 months. So at the moment, we try not to take any clients at 3 months. So we go 6, 12, 18 months. And that was a decision I made, thinking that was the best way. What did I need? I needed my clients to get results. So they weren't getting results in 3 months. And also they weren't really maybe loving us yet within the 3 months. So they needed a little bit more time, or they weren't, you know how people join something and go, I'm going to try next door now. And, I'm going to try next door now. But at least by having them also commit to 6 months, I was getting more serious clients in.
Right. Got it. So you proved that you could charge what you were worth and that people would commit to a longer period of time if that's what they needed, so that you had sustainability and predictability in the business as well. You mentioned leads too. How has that differed for you? Can you think of a particular situation or challenge that you're able to overcome?
So with regards to leads, it's getting people to click. I think I was just, leads were either walking my door or people referring me, but I wasn't getting anything organic. It was after I started, I guess there's a separate conversation maybe, but that lead search dashboard generation thing from NPE. Then I was figuring out people were finding me via Google. I mean, every month I kind of look at the average of where people are finding me because we track all that. And more than about 35 to 40% of our leads come via Google search, pure Google search. So then I realized that, this Google thing works, and I know that I would like to put my, more sort of work into getting more leads via Google.
Yeah. I love it. So, okay, so you solved the sales and the marketing challenge and problem using the systems and tools you mentioned, AutoCloser and then the local search program. What about the growth? Because obviously you were a one-woman band, and to get to 39, 40, 45,000, clearly you need to be much more than that. So tell us about what you did and how you were able to solve that capacity problem.
Well, when you're hiring someone, first of all, it's terrifying because you've got to pay someone money, right? And you're not sure whether you can part with that money. And I hired my admin assistant first because I was going to hire a coach first. And then you guys said, no, you need someone to handle your day-to-day stuff so that you can concentrate on the coach. And I hired Claire. She was my first hire, and she's still with us. And now she's going to HR manager, HR and finance manager. And now we've got a different administrator assistant that works with us. And then after that, I hired my first coach, Coach Alison, who was great. And she worked with us. Everyone loved her. And she's since moved to Australia. But, yeah.
So to talk us through where the team's at now. We talked about, you solved the lead and the sales challenge. We talked about where you started with Claire and getting that back of house support. So what results were you able to, we talked about obviously your average monthly revenue being around that 39, 40,000. But what's changed for you in terms of the team capacity, your role and your happiness in the business, and how's it all made you feel?
So I was doing most of the classes in the beginning. Part of that was because I was trying to train my coaches in the way I wanted classes to be done. But also it's hard letting go of, when this is your baby. It was hard letting go of being the best trainer to handing the reins to someone else. So over the years, I was doing that. And now I have a team of, I've got to think back now. There are, I think, six coaches, or 7 coaches. And I've also got my operations manager who takes care of the sales for me. He takes care of the operations for me, which is what was the one thing I did not like. I didn't like having to deal with clients who wanted to cancel, stuff like that, all the daily operations stuff. I hated that. So David is brilliant. He does all that for me. Minying does all the administrative things, like giving our swag, our monthly things, dealing with testimonials. So she's got a system for getting the Google reviews. I've got my coaches now. And 9 weeks ago, I said, well, I want you guys to try to program classes, which they have been doing. And I've seen where they are, and I've seen, right, okay, how I can help make it better. But I've started to give ownership to them as well. And so I went on holiday for a week, and I will be going on holiday again for a whole month. And I had zero worries that the business is going to run, because I'm not even doing the sales. David is. So it doesn't matter that I'm not there, because he's going to be closing sales, and all the classes being done. I think right now we have, in all my classes, I have one private client, and yeah, that's it. I'm not training any more clients, and I'm okay with that. I'm really happy with that, because it frees my time up to build a business and to grow the business as well.
It's so exciting. It's been amazing to see your journey as well, because it hasn't always been a straight line path to success. We've had lots of challenges along the way. But what's been amazing from my standpoint for us at NPE is just to see you face every obstacle and challenge with just total focus and commitment, even though it has been hard at times. And your professional growth's been phenomenal in that time. I mean, it's amazing. The person you are now is as a business owner is completely different to where you were 2017. Can you tell us a little bit about that shift for you, and where do you feel it's made a difference, or what has made that shift?
So I sorry, someone's just calling me. So the shift for me has been a few things, actually. When I started out as a small little studio, I've moved studios from a little one to a bigger one, same building. It was actually when my husband lost his job and he was made redundant. And then I suddenly thought, oh my God, I've got to take this seriously, because he had a wonderful salary. We had a wonderful life. And I realized how much stress he was under. And I thought, you know what? I need to contribute a lot more so that he doesn't have to have that stress and we don't have to go through that situation again. So opening my biggest studio, I was petrified at doing it. But again, absolute no-brainer. And then I realized sort of during that process that it's always scary to try something. I was scared to start my own first studio, but it's always scary to try something. But then it always kind of works out. And I know it works out really because I've got the support of NPE. Because I feel like you're my advisors anyway, and you'll always set me straight or make me think about things in a certain way. So now I definitely do think I'm a business owner versus an operator of the business.
And you've mentioned this to me and on coaching calls as well, because you don't have a business partner. It is just you and the business. And there's been times when it can be very lonely as well, and you don't necessarily have someone else to bounce ideas off, which, as you've mentioned, has been why our coaching has been so beneficial for you. We've talked about where you were and sort of where you are. What about where you want to go? What are your goals looking ahead for the next 3 to 6 months? Because I know you've got some pretty exciting ones.
Yeah. So I basically I'm opening another studio, and I've thought about it over the last 3 years before COVID, and I'm so glad I didn't do anything before that. That was good. Then during COVID, and I've always looked, and I found the right location, and even then I wasn't sure. And of course, then with your guidance, I've run through all the numbers and everything else, and so where I do have this new location, and we'll probably be opening up we haven't got the exact date, but definitely by the 1st of August. And so by growing the second location, that I'm really trying to build to replicate what I'm doing right now, but better, so that in the future, I can either franchise or license out other studios. I don't necessarily want to own these studios because there's also a lot of work involved, and we have plans on leaving Singapore. So I need to make sure that for the next 3 years at least, that I've got this first and second studio built to and the first studio is fine. It's kind of like trying to figure things out. But at the second studio, I go, okay, how can I make this so that when someone's interested in saying franchising, I can be like, right, this is how I built the second one, and this is how we're going to do yours. Yeah.
Well, so, and I love it because one of the things that you said there is this hasn't been just, well, if I get another one, then I'll do better, which is sometimes what we can think when we've got one location and are looking to get another. But what you've done is to really make sure that your existing location, like you said, you took a week off and it all worked beautifully. David kept making sales. You grew in client numbers. There was more revenue and profit coming in, which is now you've worked yourself into a point where that can look after itself. Yeah, you'll keep touching in and this, that, and the other, which is really fantastic because that's what a lot of people don't do. And I know you have crunched the numbers and it makes perfect sense. So you talked about potentially licensing or franchising. What are your 1 to 3 year goals? Where do you see yourself then?
So in 1 year, so definitely having this, because I've had to take a loan from the bank to do this, which I was terrified about. But then that's how you grow businesses, right? I mean, you have to kind of borrow money unless you've got millions sitting in a bank account. Then definitely to the point where I've paid off the debt, and but within those 6 months, I really want to be cash flow positive from hopefully at least 6 months down the line. And then that's the 1 year goal. But I also need to start training, certifying people in-house. As the biggest challenge I've had in growing the business has, apart from, always finding leads and making sure you're closing the sales, is actually getting instructors who are trained the way I want them to be trained in order to teach the clients so that I don't have to work. And I have struggled to find the right people, and then they haven't liked the weight section of it, or I've got personal trainers who don't know Pilates. So I've had to pretty much write mine from scratch. So I have done it. It's in the works. I'm writing it. And then I've already had an open evening to get people in. I'm going to have a few more because I do plan on starting what I call the Fit Nut Loft Coaching Certification Academy. Bit of a mouthful. I might change that name. But having the first intake of students, at least 4 students by the start of the 4th quarter, so say October. Right. And then whoever I get then, I will, if they're good, I'll then be able to offer them an internship with our studio. So by doing that, hopefully I'm creating this pipeline of staff, of trainers who can work with me or with future studios. And in terms of my 3-year plans, in 3 years, we've decided as a family to move to the UK where my husband is from. So in 3 years, I need to be able to walk away and maybe make a trip every 2 months just to check on everybody, make sure everyone's happy. But in 3 years, I will have a head coach who has taken over that academy coaching role, who's then training people. It's not me doing it. I've got studios. And then when we move to London, if it's a good market for it, if there's an opportunity for it, then I'll open a studio there, or there's a franchise in the UK as well. So those are the plans.
I love it. It's a specificity. I mean, there'll be a lot of people listening to this going, wow, I don't even really have a beyond next month. And this woman's got it all figured out. And you absolutely do. It's fantastic to have seen your growth and just these plans come to fruition. You've got the second studio. That's going to be the new blueprint, as you said. And then you can just replicate that in new facilities, which is so exciting. I mean, it really is. It's moving to another country is now no longer a challenge because you've got people in place who can run things without you. So what would you say is the number one lesson you've learned, Aly?
Wow. Okay. I have so many, but the number one lesson is, well, actually 2. It's actually trusting you guys. That's the first lesson. Okay. And I know that we butted heads in the beginning. I was like, you don't know my business, and all of that. It's trusting you and the process. And the second thing is to be on top of my numbers, and so that I know what's going on, what's happening. And, at one stage when things weren't going well last year, it was in July and December. And I thought, because of COVID and all that stuff, I had my Christmas in July sale. And my goal was to make $10,000, and I was $300 short to making $10,000 in July. So I did my Christmas sale in December, saying, I've still, because my numbers were low then in December, just December. So that was like what, 4 or 5 months ago. They weren't great. So, through our meeting, I was said I'm going to focus purely on just closing sales and getting $10,000, and I did. And it was a great month in December because of that. So it's trusting the numbers and knowing where I'm falling short and going, okay, and actually also having faith in myself. Just believing that I can do it.
Yeah, that's a massive one, isn't it? That the imposter syndrome is so common in our industry, and it comes up at every stage of business growth and development, doesn't it? We feel like we've got it for one stage, and then there it is again. So you've done really well to continue to overcome that and reinforce the confidence that you don't have to know everything. You can get support in the things you don't know, but you do know a lot, and that you can do really well. So that being said, I mean, talking about those sort of beliefs, is there anything that you believed about running your business that you no longer believe?
Um, when I first ran my business, I didn't think it was a business at all, right? It was just a hobby. And I didn't believe, oh my God, I didn't believe I'd be where I was today. I honestly thought, I told my husband, I just want to cover the rent and get $1,000 because it's just a hobby. It's not going to grow. It's not going to work. And now it has. And I've got to look in the mirror, even like it's mentioned, imposter syndrome, and still look in the mirror and tell myself I am successful. I'm an entrepreneur and a businesswoman and a good one. And it's saying this words, sometimes you might roll your eyes and go, oh God, but then no, you've got to say, no, I actually am. And the nice thing is my husband, he's my biggest supporter, obviously. He was having a chat with me, and it's funny because he works for it's a boutique insurance company. And even when he worked for a big one, which had offices globally, he said, my wife's business has better systems than this global company puts together. And he was looking at what I was doing and telling everyone, look, my wife's doing this in her teeny tiny business. And so we, sort of saying, if she can do it, why the heck aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, So I'm looking back and going, heck yeah, I am successful, Yeah.
Well, you absolutely are, and incredibly successful when you look at your really meteoric rise. It's been amazing. And yes, you've had some challenging months during COVID, but you bounced back, you reset it, want to do 10,000 in new client sales and hit those goals, which is brilliant. Really is brilliant. So there's lots of people who'll be listening to this, Aly, and they're thinking, well, okay, they're probably in a position where you were back before you joined. I'm not sure. Maybe this is right. Do I really need that help? Could I just do it on my own? Maybe I should just Google something else. What would you say to someone else who's sitting back where you started?
I've been there, right? I mean, when I started the academy back in, I guess, 2018, when you told me again how much it was going to cost, I was like, oh my God, I can't afford that. And I was like, oh, should I? And I was thinking to myself, okay, this is work. I'm going to get out. But I was ready to do it. And then within months, I thought, oh my God, this is just like paid for itself throughout the year. And just as I've grown and moving into a bigger capacity and joining Pro Group, and still, basically, you're my you're my advisory board, my board of directors, and I pay you guys a retainer, and you're not, you haven't run off with my money because you guys have been here, and having meetings with you every single week and knowing I can count on you guys to help me and give me a virtual slap across the face if I need it, which oftentimes I do. I just can't imagine, honestly, not finishing up my career without you guys there at my retirement party. So I'll be there forever, and it's just, I can't, there's no way. Even if I had a partner, like a lot of the guys in our calls, they've got their business partner as well, and they're still there with you guys, because also we get so emotionally invested in our business, and I do, and it's so hard to kind of distance ourselves, and that's where you guys come in. You guys come in and make us kind of like get ourselves together. I mean, how many times have you and Sean go, come on, Aly, get a grip, come on, and I've just got, okay, I'll do it. And then, I would say, if you want to be serious about building your business from whatever you are at the moment to something a little bit bigger or huge, then this NPE, you guys are like the only people they should be talking to right now in order to help them get on that path, right? I mean, for example, when I was making $5,000, if you told me I'd be making $15,000 in a month, I'd be like, oh my God, that's like amazing, right? When I was closing sales, I was coming home and telling my husband, oh my God, I can't believe we closed another sale. And then now he says, you don't even talk about it. You don't even tell me what your revenue is, because it's just like, yeah, whatever. It's 40 grand. It's like, okay, it's fine. So honestly, you can't go wrong with NP.
Well, thank you so much, and I can't wait for that retirement party. It's going to be a ton of fun, and it has
We'll be
been
old.
awesome. Well, more mature. Um, but it has been fantastic working with you, Ali. It really has, and to see your growth and what you've achieved. I mean, it's what drives us every day, and we take so much pleasure in the results that you've had, and not just for you, but as you said, your husband's got another job again, and now you've created this lifestyle for yourself. You've got options. You can move back to the UK. There's all sorts of things that you can do financially as well. And as importantly, you've now got these lifelong skills as an entrepreneur and business owner that you can use to start up your franchise or your license model and then take to wherever you want to go. So I'm super excited for the next few years and working with you. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Ali. You really are going to inspire a lot of people.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. And it's, bringing back the memories from when I first, it's good to look back because you forget where you came from. Always good to look back. And I really hope I've helped someone out there who isn't sure about where they are. No matter how small you are now, you can get to wherever you want to be just with the help from you guys.
Well, you certainly have. Thank you so much, Ali. Really appreciate your time. We'll speak to you again very soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.